And down on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Terran player himself. It is Big Gabe.
So I've been streaming a while myself and trying to commentate here and there, Ravi, and I gotta tell you, it's definitely more difficult to commentate and play than to not commentate and play. There is certain advantages, like say if you're not really actively thinking, if you're just kind of going about things mechanically, like it's sometimes good to mix in some commentary so that you are aware of the things that you're not doing. Like sometimes I find myself telling my viewers something like, this is what you should do, but it's gonna be too much effort. But instead of saying that, I find myself going, I guess I should do this, right? So it can kind of do that. But at the level that these players play, I don't think they need any help remembering stuff. So it's just an added process to commentate. It's like it takes space, mental space.
And I want to clarify and say, like, if you go watch Big Gabe stream when he's playing in a tournament, whether it be this or one of the ESL Opens and everything, he's not actively doing what some streamers try and do. Like if you watch a M Canning stream or like Up a Tree Zelda or like Pig or something, he's not doing active commentary every second of the gameplay or, every 5 to 10 seconds. It's more like every few minutes, you'll kind of get to hear him chime in a little thought. And then after each game, he'll kind of give some various thoughts. So I think it's a little bit less involved. But I still think it's something that I am sure you know this feeling as well. Even if you're not commentating a lot, there is almost an added pressure or feeling or stress that just comes from I'm streaming. I have something else happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that you would think to say anything, because like we all react, right? If something happens and you're alone, and like if you're alone and an DT shows in your middle line, you still go, right? But and so that kind of thing you can do, but if you're actively thinking about there is a camera on me, there's people watching me, and I'm reacting, and they can hear me, and you're explaining further, that's definitely still a little bit of a process, though. Yeah, if he's not doing it as actively, maybe it won't hinder him so much, and it takes some pressure off as well in some ways, right? It's one of those things that you can tell yourself, you know what, like in a different setting, maybe I wouldn't be commentating, and maybe I would be able to make this.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Now, we do have Twilight Council Robo opening coming out over here from Drogo. Are we going to be seeing that good old Blink Stalker opening that we love seeing from Protoss players everywhere? And there it is, Blink coming out.
Alrighty. So that is pretty normal, right, Ravi?
Yeah, super normal. The most normal thing in the world, Cats.
Alrighty, so we're gonna see a few Blink Stalkers likely just looking to contain. This is a decent map to jump into the main as well. So that's, I imagine, what the Robo is for an observer.
Yeah, I also like that Drogo has already got that little wall off going, because he is going to be going up against a Hellion opening. But I want to note, no real like Reaper or anything that came out. This was a reactor opening from HeRoMaRinE. And he also ended up getting up to see Hellions. He's got a medevac that's actually coming out with 7 Marines loaded up. So the idea is the Hellions try and run into the natural. The Stalkers have to be there, and there's no Reaper to knock them out or anything. Our Hellions should not be able to get in that way. But if all of the units are over there, then the medevac drop can get some damage done.
Oh, but look at this. The Adept is going to give Drogo a pretty good heads up. Yes, it'll cost an Adept, but not without trading for a Hellion and Drogo at least knowing what's going on. I wouldn't mind canceling that pylon right now. It's definitely not going to... Well, okay, don't cancel the pylon then. It's definitely going to die. But, oh, good positions on the Stalkers. This is what I was talking about. 2 observers fighting for their jobs at the moment, right? It's like, I'll look at them.
That is a beautiful pickoff over there. And remember that with one of the Hellions already picked off, that means that they cannot one-shot workers anymore. We are seeing some of the Stalkers going down over here, but ultimately, I think at the end of the day, obviously this is not going to be ideal for Drogo to be losing Stalkers, but he's getting a beautiful cleanup over here with extremely minimal losses for what I have to say is like a somewhat committed attack there for HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, and these observers, I get it, like they're best friends at this point, but hey, at some point, okay,
split them off.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes
I'll see you later.
You got to part ways with your friends to become closer. Sometimes distance makes you closer in the end.
And sometimes it just kills you, because it feels like the one that's heading towards HeRoMaRinE may not be coming back. Like the one at the natural is like, all right, I guess I'll stay here.
Whoa, aggressively forward. Okay, this is a very ballsy maneuver. Remember, there's not a lot of leeway over here for these Stalkers. They are so close to running into that siege tank range. They can't really micro around too much more, but Blink should be off of cooldown again. So the Stalkers, I think, are going to be able to continue micro back. Oh, he misses the opportunity to maybe blink a little bit further, but going to kill off a few of these Marines. Now that the Marauders here, though, these Stalkers, their lives are forfeit.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, what is that? The springs of that Stalker are still on the ground. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty cool.
Sometimes, you know, I get sad watching Protoss units die, but I have to say those animations were beautifully done, so I don't mind it as much.
Yes, yeah. Once in a while, like 10 years later, I'm still surprised by the death animations, like the you know, whatever's left over of them. I guess there's just enough variety, and I guess I just never get to stare at them. That sometimes, you know, I'm like, whoa, what was that?
You're a Zerg player. I'll tell you another one. Did you know that whenever a Corruptor dies from like a laser hit or something, like if a Marine kills it, it has a little, it's like a giant little bubble of some liquid or something on its forehead, if you know what I'm talking about. It always pops before, it like pops and then the Corruptor dies.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it has like a mini spawning, like his brain is like a spawning pool or something, it feels like.
It's like, yeah, it's like a mind explosion. Its mind explodes and then it dies.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's like, you want Stalkers here?
Love it.
That's my lore explanation for it. We do have a very, very diverse opening over here from Drogo, where he's getting up the Temple Archives as his first Colossus has just popped out, and he's getting up his second. So he's got a very quick transition to the next kind of stages of his build order before his Colossus have really even done or been involved in anything. It might not have even really been fully revealed just yet, but yeah, Drogo's getting into a really, really nice setup for a long-term game.
Yeah, I really like the way that he has done this. Kind of cutting down on army and units for the start of the game, right? Made a few Zealots. That's about the cheapest unit that you could possibly make for Protoss. But otherwise, just getting his production set up and situated. I think this is a great move against the likes of HeRoMaRinE, who sometimes tends to stay back a little bit passive and push out once he's ready. This looks to be his push, though. So let's see if Drogo can actually get all the pieces ready in time for it.
Okay, Cats, I want you to note just the timing of this. The push out comes. Drogo sees this coming, by the way, with the Zealot designing the Watchtower. But before that Zealot was even seeing any of this push out, the bottom right had a big run by of Zealots already ready. He's just waiting for the moment that HeRoMaRinE is too far out. He's going to run those into the third, and I imagine he wants to time that out with the engagement so that HeRoMaRinE is both busy microing his siege tanks, stemming up his army, doing the stutter step back, while he's also having to pull his workers to the third. So we'll see if Drogo can time this out well. He's not moving those Zealots just yet. He's busy with his own micro.
Yeah, now he is moving the Zealots. That fourth is the most hopeful fourth that I have ever seen. I'm not sure what that was about. But hey, oddly enough, HeRoMaRinE is going to kill that fourth and be like, ha, gotcha. And so maybe it works. You know, I canceled for backing the army away and now doing a little bit of damage with these Zealots. So Drogo is actually going to be pushing back, which is kind of strange, I gotta say. It felt like it was HeRoMaRinE that needed to do something on the side of Drogo, and instead it feels like Drogo did something. I mean, somehow though, still here at Big Gabe is at a supply advantage. Yeah,
I do think that, I mean, it was a decent number of Zealots that only really got 4 worker kills, so it wasn't a whole lot. One of the unfortunate things is that when you warp in more than, like, say, 4 Zealots, and they move into a mineral line, what actually ends up happening is that the first 4 Zealots charge forward, and then and they hit the SCVs on like the gas guys are at the very edge of the mineral line. And then the rest of the like 5 or 6 Zealots also charge forward, and they just get body blocked by the Zealots that are right at the entrance. So actually, like, it's kind of unfortunate because if your opponent pulls really quickly, you actually end up not getting a whole lot. And I think that's kind of what happened there for Drogo.
That's interesting. Do you think that then it's fair to say that run-bys lose a little bit of their power as you scale up? Like, is it better to do just like 2 or 3 Zealot run-bys?
I think there's definitely, this is something that actually Roddy has some really strong opinions on. He feels like, you know, after 3 or 4 Zealots, like, is it really going to do more damage than just the 4 Zealots most of the time? So I think there's some people who have that train of thought. I think you can do more micro-intensive run-by stuff. Actually, the really micro-intensive thing is that you actually manually click charge on some of the further in SCVs once you get close. Oh no, this Warp Prism. Ooh, that kind of sucks, because that was really his only way outside of just some simple Zealot run-bys to get a whole lot of harassment done over here.
Yeah, it was the only Warp Prism on the map. I love this bunker, by the way. This is the kind of bunker that I would love to see Terrence do against the likes of Raynor and Serral, you know, like because they're always going to get in those circling Rambais. So I really like to see that from Big Gabe here. And yeah, it's going to continue to shut down Drogo. I mean, Big Gabe has seemingly taken a pretty strong position himself.
Yeah, he's maxed out at this point. He's got enhanced shockwaves, getting close to finishing. His 2-2 is also a big point right here because Drogo got up +1 weapons and then he added on the second forge after +1 weapons finished. So he is now getting a +3 weapons and +2 armor. That means he is going to be down 1 set of upgrades.
Yeah, and here come Big Gabe. Notice the little squad of Marines in the north. Like, it seems like it may not do much, but they are great spotter Marines, so there's nothing flanking Big Gabe, and he knows it. So he's going to position very confidently on this side with that vision at the north, knowing that if there's going to be a flank, it's going to be through this wall. And I'm surprised that the Vikings actually repositioned because they could have already taken down this Colossus had they not. Big Gabe's going to be a little bit split by this flank, actually. I'm not sure to take this, Ravi.
Yeah, I feel like if Big Gabe can continue microing down to the south side, he's going to have basically just engaged versus half the army, but he does still lose a lot of army supply over there. He's going to be losing some more on the retreat as Vikings get sniped off by these stalkers. This choke point is going to be working out a little bit better for HeRoMaRinE for a little bit. Ghosts going to be coming in, but 3 ghosts are going to be taken out. I want to say for free, but they got some good EMPs off.
Yeah, decent EMPs, but missing most of the Archons, and these Blinkstalkers can still be microed. The good thing for Big Gabe is the PF, of course, but with 4 Immortals, if this army loses, I feel like Big Gabe should be retreating to the PF. This is a little bit, I think, a little bit too far of an extension, no? Maybe not?
I'm with you on that. SCV is also being pulled off the line, so you might see a lot of red, but honestly, it's not units that really want to be fighting right now. Somehow, Big Gabe only loses 5 workers, and he's got the stalkers on the retreat that don't really have a lot of shields left over. Still, I mean, somehow it seems like Big Gabe, this is like the Big Gabe thing, is that you see him take what seems like a very life-threatening fight, and then you look back at his army and his supply, and you're like, well, he still actually has quite a bit of an army supply. Like, his macro is just still there.
I mean, that's what he's best at. He reinforced this like he's a Zerg, like units trickling here and there, and once the zealots are cleaned up, there's very little damage to take down the likes of Marines. So I understand why he wanted to save those Immortals, those very key pieces. I thought he could have maybe stayed a little bit longer, but maybe it would have cost him those Immortals. So fair by Drogo, who is gonna get to pick off 2 mules with just a little run by.
Okay, definitely not too bad. He's also trying to use this to set up a move out on the left-hand side. Now, the left-hand side, I feel like on Eternal Empire, if those rocks are there, it's so difficult to actually make a whole lot of progress, because what are you going to do? Move through the choke point, through the supply depot wall, into the natural, and then you can't really retreat either. So I feel like if you can find an opportunity to like knock down the rocks or do something to open up the pathways, doing those 1-2 punches on the left and right can work out a lot better, but it's easier said than done to find an opportunity for that.
Most 2 Disruptors now making their way in as another Robo joins the fray too. Upgrades not looking too bad for Drogo. Good EMPs.
Yeah, I feel like Drogo, I like that he's buying some time here, and if you can use the choke points or something, that's great. But I really wouldn't mind if he tried to get this engagement to happen closer to his shield batteries. And honestly, a really small thing that we've been seeing more and more of, oh my god, this Disruptor actually killing off the counterattack over here. I was gonna say, is that when the EMPs go off, they take off the shields from most of your units. If you have a shield battery overcharge that's active right after the EMPs go off, that shield battery overcharge gets maximum value because it's immediately healing up all the units that just got EMP'd.
What happens if they EMP the battery overcharge?
It doesn't cost energy when it's healing from the shield battery overcharge.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're like, yeah, that's cool. Wow. All right.
Yeah. Must be nice. Must be nice.
Must be nice. Like, queens don't ever have an ability to transfuse that energy, but okay.
All right. The really nice counter from Drogo. He's going to get a CC, it looks like. He's focusing on the SCV's late to repair it. Very nice snipes.
Oh, and he gets out of there. Okay, only 1 Stalker's really going to get picked off over here. Maybe 2, but he's at the same time going to be taking an engagement over here, going through the Liberator zones. Ghost also not really throwing out those EMPs until very late. HeRoMaRinE is very distracted during this fight. The Vikings might kill a lot of the Colossus, but PtitDrogo definitely taking some better trades on this side.
Yeah, you look at the supply and you're like, yeah, I'm not sure how am I looking at this on the screen and the supply as it is, but PtitDrogo, amazing moves here. Now he's gonna run into the rest of the supply and he's gonna be as surprised as we were. That Disruptor barely not getting the shot off.
Yeah, I feel like, HeRoMaRinE has immaculate macro. That's the reason why his supply is still up over here. But remember, when you kill something like a command center, and I mean, Cats, you know this better than anyone, when you kill a base, you don't see the army supply reflected immediately, right? It takes a minute or two for the lack of income to start showing itself.
Yeah, at the same time, Big Gabe already with extra orbital commands, so he's not gonna suffer too much. But yeah, he is not mining the location at least, so you're completely right on the terrain. I think that that earlier though, on the push that Big Gabe was going, I completely agree with you about going back to the shield battery in spite of it not getting affected by the EMP. But with the Liberators, you have to kind of slow the siege too, right?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I feel like, yeah, PtitDrogo was able to capitalize on HeRoMaRinE having some Liberators there, but not actually that many, and not everything was super well set up. EMPs came off pretty late because he was doing that other counterattack, because he was able to get the snipe off on that other command center. But this map, this is the nightmare scenario on this map, is when you just get the big bio drop that comes into the south side of your natural, and the Temple Archives and the Robo are both your Cats.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel with sensor towers, Ravi. Every time a sensor tower is placed, my heart dies a little bit. It feels like, oh, like you have, it's just so, it becomes so much more difficult to move and attack. And it's like just knowing that your opponent knows what you're doing makes it all that much more difficult. So I think with this snipe and the sensor towers being established and that extra, well, now 2 rich Vesping Geysers, HeRoMaRinE is getting a fantastic position in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he sniped off so much tech over here, and I actually think he's going to be able to load up. It's going to be a little risky. The Stalkers are there, but he gets the empty medevac. Oh, the 50-50. It looks like PtitDrogo loses it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he could have definitely clicked the right medevac there, I think, but I'm not sure. It's difficult to know. He definitely clicked the one that was closest by like an inch, which guarantees the kill for sure. So, yeah, it's a difficult decision to make. Now Drogo with still a pretty good army, but I don't know. How do you come back from this, Ravi? Or do you need to come back, or are you just fine if you're Drogo?
I mean, I feel like this is one of those late game PvT situations that becomes really tough. I'm gonna say this is kind of one of those situations I really struggle with, and PtitDrogo is a much better player than me. But I think it's not like just some simple, oh, well, you just tech to this and it's all good. Obviously, with so many Liberators coming out, it would be nice to see like a Fleet Beacon or something coming down, but and getting up to Tempest or something. But this is honestly just, you have to play really well. You have to be in position for all these drops. Having an observer or something in that dead airspace would probably help out a little bit, especially now that he doesn't have a natural. His main base is going to be the next place that can potentially get dropped. But yeah, you got to take a good fight and continue to be active on the map.
Yeah, this could be huge if he can actually kill this base. At the same time, there's going to be a push from HeRoMaRinE, and it's going to lose out to Ghost Knight. Same death animation. What is the likelihood that you and your friend die next to each other and you end up in the same post, your cadavers?
Wait, you end up in the same what?
Like if you and your friend go to war and you both die next to each other in this case, what are the chances that your bodies will both end up in the same exact way, right? Like, because both of those ghosts had the same, they were laying down dead in the same way.
If we were like, twins or something, then I think it's much more likely.
And they are, so they are all twins except for Nova whenever she shows up. I guess she could be a twin too, we don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely not identical though.
Oh man, I actually love this. The Ghost, it has its hold fire off. Oh, sorry, like its hold fire is on right now, so it's gonna be able to nuke over here. Oh, this is brutal right now because I think Drogo is so distracted trying to snipe off all these Liberators. The Stalker's coming in from the back. That is a good position for the Stalkers with so many Archons, so many Disruptors, so many valuable units go down, and Drogo loses his entire mineral in the top left.
Yeah, 19 probes. He just decided, I'm not even going to look at where you're nuking. Maybe he didn't even hear it, but he is pushing on fourth, now lagging nearly 70 supply behind. I'm not sure how Big Gabe does this. Over and over, Drogo has taken decent engagements, but it never seems to be enough, Ravi.
Oh, and you can actually see Drogo does do a big warp, and 7 High Templars, I think, just got warped in. But they're all immediately turning into Archons, because remember, he never got up Storm or anything, so that one straight High Templar just maybe we'll get a feedback off or something. But oh man, this is a brutal spot. Big Gabe just never seems to run out of units, cats. GG. HeRoMaRinE taking game 1.
That is so very difficult to go against a player like Big Gabe. He is just in control, and it's like you try to break him and you win the fights, and you have to feel good, and you're one of the best protos in Europe at this point. You're a professional gamer, so I mean, how much more could he have? Well, just enough, it looks like.
It's so brutal. Like I think you did a great job of explaining this. The feeling when things like sensor towers and stuff are coming up, where you are feeling like you're actually doing all the right things, right? You're doing all the stuff that you're supposed to be doing. You're doing zealot run-bys. You're actually winning a lot of these fights. And that's the funniest thing to me, is that I feel like Drogo won more fights than HeRoMaRinE. But HeRoMaRinE repeatedly just had such good macro, was expanding very consistently, was able to retake the bases, any like harassment and stuff he was taking. He was able to remake SCVs or retake bases so quickly. He just never ran out of units there. Even as Drogo was taking all these great fights, even as Drogo was doing all this harassment and everything, Big Gabe was just on top of all of it.
Yeah, if this was like a physical fighting match, I think that you would have to give it by points to Drogo if they get there, but Big Gabe always just ends up winning by knockout eventually in like round 10 or something. So he's just too powerful.
He's a big man with a big stamina, man, and it is brutal. It's demoralizing a little bit to like when you are in one of those games where it's not like, oh, there was one big strategic decision that I feel like I really botched. It's not like, oh, I just should have gone for this unit, or I should have just added this in, or I shouldn't have moved around this way. It's not that simple. The fix is not that simple, cats.
It really isn't. I mean, if you're Drogo, you have to be feeling like you have a mountain to climb here. It is in the bottom left-hand side, the red Terran player, HeRoMaRinE.
And at the top right-hand side of the map, the blue Protoss player, he is PtitDrogo. Raise your edge gaming. All right, so cats, when I think of PtitDrogo, I usually am thinking of really cool build orders, minor tweaks that he makes to existing ones to hit a little bit earlier or hit a little bit stronger and find these awesome opportunities to punish your opponent when you expect they're going to be doing a certain thing. That's the kind of player I think of with PtitDrogo. That last game felt like a very, very normal opening. And I will remind you, like, it seemed like he was trying to maybe do something with like the Blink Stalkers really early on that didn't really end up working out. But he was doing like really fast tech ups with Templar Archives and the Colossus coming out, going straight into Disruptors right after. I feel like he was trying some stuff and it didn't really work out in the earlier stages of the game.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I completely agree with you, Ravi. I think that Drogo is one of the most methodical Protoss players. He's one of those players that is just actively going to be refining build orders, like you said, that he's going to look for those little advantages. The problem is he's kind of facing a player that is his mirror in the Terran department, where HeRoMaRinE is the same type of player that he's going to be very consistent, very much about those build orders, very much about the efficiency. And he got outdone in that department. So can you turn into more of a trickster if you're Drogo is my question.
Yeah, that will be the interesting question to ask over here. Now, Drogo is going to be going up against a Reaper opening this game. Remember last game we did end up seeing, but actually, you know what? Now that I think back to the beginning of last game, Drogo did an excellent job of shutting down that earlier Hellion Marine drop aggression. And this game, you know, after a start like that, I actually really thought Drogo was in a good spot, and it ended up still not working out in the long term. But I feel like, yeah, if he can shut down this Reaper nice and early on, maybe he'll have another opportunity to do something cool.
I really do hope so. This Reaper will be shut down for now. The Adept is crossing the map. No shield battery. Oh, yeah, there was a shield battery committed onto the main base of Drogo to allow for this PC move out, as the Stalker is going to continue to try and zone out. But yeah, Ravi, that's the thing that I am terrified about. Oh, all right.
You know what the thing that is the most painful about this, Cats? Is that you go for the Marine because you're like, I think I can get the Marine.
Yeah.
And then when you don't get the Marine, you're like, if I had just gone for the SCV build in the command center, I think I would have gotten that instead.
Yeah, most likely. It's a difficult decision to make, but I mean, I liked it. And unluckily, there's people on the Reddit
playing with fire.
What a cheeky guy, that Marine.
Yeah.
Who was
it's a little bit extra damage done. Yeah. All right. So, well, the Reaper's going to make its way back. It actually managed to stay alive there. So that's a nice little start for HeRoMaRinE because he's going for another Hellion or two. We'll see how many he ends up making. That's the second one he's making right now. So this is one of those things where the Reaper can use its grenade and try and knock the Stalkers out of position as opposed to, you know, the drop straight into the main base or something and potentially get a little roasted and toasted of some workers.
Yeah, that would be pretty deadly at this point. I am afraid for the game that Big Gabe ends up with an advantage in the early game, though. Because you know, if things are going Drogo and he's not able to close out, then I don't want to see it when things start going Big Gabe. So I want his attacks to fail right now.
Yeah. I'm also, we are, I think, casters who are very biased because we want to see a really good series.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Hellions are making their way across the map. PtitDrogo has a few units over by that third base. If we can get a shot of the natural, I'd love to see what he's got over there. But Hellions are actually getting position. It looks like to potentially just get dropped into the main base. Oh, Drogo, he's got the units at the third and the natural. I don't know that he also has units to spare for the main, but there it is, 3 Stalkers. And remember, there's that shield battery as well that was made earlier on. I'm actually a little bit surprised that HeRoMaRinE's going to still go for the drop in the main because he saw the shield battery with the Reaper.
Yeah, the Hellions are going to be dropped. And remember, one-shotting probes. So if he can get some nice lineups, he can still do some damage. It's 5 probes so far and losing nothing. It's not bad at all.
Gonna go for some more damage over here in the natural. Remember, Blink is still about 15-20 seconds away from finishing. Looks like he ends up just boosting on out of there. So he should be able to get out of here without even really taking a whole lot of damage on that medevac. Hellion even unloads at the very end. Maybe just to get a bit of extra scouting information on the army and see it's just a lot of Stalkers with a single adept.
I would love for Drogo to go on the hunt for this medevac right now. He has to make a he's doing it. All right, so he's hunting for it, but he stopped for a little bit, Ravi, and that's where maybe he doesn't end up getting it. HeRoMaRinE, brilliant. Look at how smart Big Gabe is. He's anticipating that Drogo will do this, drops the weakest Hellion as bait, who provides him for vision so that the medevac doesn't run into these Stalkers. So great moves on both players' parts here.
Yeah, I think Big Gabe's going to be a lot happier with this, not only surviving with a medevac for a little bit longer, but remember all these Stalkers, this is around that time where the Observer's out, the Stalkers are here, and this is one of those maps where Big Gabe with his spawn location, look at that. If you go to his main base, and you see where the Stalkers can blink up into the main, there's already a siege tank there, so I don't think this is an easy snipe off, but that's where Stim is extremely exposed. That is where you can get one of those massive game-winning moves.
Yeah, you have to be really careful. I mean, the Raven could also provide the super missile, the Dorito cannon.
Yeah, the anti-armor missile. Yep. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be too late to really get tons of big damage done here. It's still important to poke around, see if you can find something. And hell, you might even be able to snipe off the Raven or something in exchange for a Stalker or two. But
on the other side, though, there's something going on in the net.
Hellion ran in. Oh my God, it's getting 3 kills. It's going to get 3 kills.
Are you kidding me right now?
By itself, cats.
Oh, the single Hellion ran by. Remember, this Hellion should be dead like 3 times over, and it's going to do just as much as the first drop.
That is so annoying. And the medevac is actually still alive as well. Wow.
I mean, this looks rough. It's not like game-ending damage has happened, but this is what we were talking about, Ravi. Last time it was PtitDrogo who came up stronger out on these early engagements, and now it's Big Gabe. And last time Big Gabe recovered well. Let's see if Drogo is able to do the same. It is a short map, though, and Big Gabe is not planning on stopping.
Yeah, and there's just that big move out from HeRoMaRinE that's going to be so difficult, like you said, to stop. Now, there are a few High Templar that were warped in. I believe he warped in an odd number, so he's got 1 High Templar available to feed back that Raven. I'd love to see that if he can find that feedback. Disable the anti-armor missile. No anti-armor missile. No interference matrix. Great move there. That Colossus is going to get so much more value now.
Yeah, if we can find another warping on a second High Templar for an Archon, that would be awesome for PtitDrogo. He really needs every unit that he can get here to try and fight this. He has the gas for it, so I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen it, but instead he's going to take the opportunity and jump in. He blinks in, he charges in, goes in with the Colossi, but Big Gabe a little bit too strong on that choke.
Oh, those siege tanks just wailing away at this army. I do want to note that the Archon and the Colossus both managed to survive. I think this is looking really, really tough and really bad right now for Drogo, but I'm not giving up hope just yet. Oh, but Big Gabe, he's just too smart. I love this move. You know that your opponent has been already reduced down to just power units, so they are going to have a big army that's still going to be somewhat powerful in one location. So just split them up. Just make sure they can't actually split up their army, or they can't just keep one big clump together.
Yeah, and this is nifty. I mean, small bits of bio are going to trade so cost effectively against just the gateway units without any support. The shield battery is nearly drained. They will shoo it away, but not without having to commit a lot of resources to it. Big Gabe is going to finally abandon the position thing here. Okay, that was good enough.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised. I thought maybe he would bring in the reinforcements and continue that push in, just because if you think about it, he forced and saw the warp in the main base, so he knew that the reinforcements are not being made at the third base. It was just the 2 or 3 Colossus there and the 3 Archons. I say just because, well, you know, that can actually still be a pretty scary looking RME, Cats, depending on what's there to engage it. But yeah, it does seem like HeRoMaRiNE's just going to play it safe. You know, he's got confidence in his late game. He's getting enhanced shockwaves to the Ghost. He's getting his armory up to start up 2-2, and he's going to have a nice little upgrade lead in that regard. Big Gabe's fine with going late game.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit scared on the same department for Drogo, who just warped in extra Templars and just morphed them into Archons. I think he wants to go for a big attack. Storm has not been started even, right? So I think that that Drogo is looking for a timing to hit. He's behind in supply and just took a 4th. I'm not sure how much I like this, but I'm hoping that it's a strong one.
Okay, well, Scan did come down and saw that army moving across the map, and Drogo, he's still going to go down, but looks like he's just sending a few units to go harass again. Got the War Prism over, ready to move into the main base potentially. So going to do a little 1-2 punch. Zealous actually might even draw a little bit of the army out of position. Look at that. Big Gabe actually sending a majority of his army to deal with just these 2 Zealots. Not sure how much the run by is. The rest of the army is also over there. The War Prism moving over to that third base is going to be a potential to get a lot of damage on, especially with the siege tanks friendly firing some of the these SCVs. Vikings quickly deal with the War Prism though.
Yeah, right before that warping, that would have been crucial for PtitDrogo, as there are no units currently in the main of Big Gabe to be able to answer. At the same time, he used this opportunity to move across or around the bottom half of the map, and Big Gabe's army is kind of off position if Drogo was to go into Big Gabe's natural right now. But instead, if he pulls back, it's his army that's going to be out of position, and Big Gabe that's going to get a positional advantage for free here.
Yeah, this gets so awkward. The one nice thing that I feel like could maybe happen here for PtitDrogo is he can warp in defensively and then flank from behind. He could have gotten the siege tanks, but he didn't know. He didn't have vision that the siege tanks are off on their own over there. And now he's going to have to take this fight. He gets EMP'd to all hell, Cats. And as much as this AoE is going through, is this actually going to be enough here for PtitDrogo? It's actually breaking through.
Yeah, I think it might just be enough. The MPs were a little bit late, and they actually whiffed on a couple of those Archons, and they really trashed all of this bio army. 39 workers down for Big Gabe after this attack, actually. So, I mean, this is one way to do it if you're Drogo. Kind of an uncharacteristic move from Big Gabe, who you would expect to have a 4th, but instead it's Drogo with the counterattacks. Big Gabe going also into the main, but Drogo is doing an amazing job in those last 30 seconds. What an unexpected turn, Ravi.
Yeah, and now PtitDrogo is actually being forced to recall back home, but he's going to be able to actually clean up the medevacs and everything. Zealous also running into that third base. Even sniping off 1 or 2 workers is going to be brutal here when you only have 26 to work with. Big Gabe can't even afford to make workers from all of his command centers consistently. He's just going to tap out. There it is. GG.
GG. Those 2 setups were kind of funny at the end, right? They were like, bro, let's go back. Nah, let's hit that. Nah, let's hit that turret, bro. They were like, bro, let's hit SCVs. They were like kind of changing their minds over and over. And yeah, they end up just being pulled back, but it didn't matter too much, as Drogo will equalize that.
I'm really, really happy to see Drogo equalize, but man, I want an instant replay of that last engagement, because I got really afraid there for Drogo. It seemed like it was just going to be such a great defensive setup there from HeRoMaRiNE, but like you were saying, EMPs did come out pretty late, and it was a very, very splash damage heavy army with Archons and Colossus versus what ended up actually being a lot of that red clump there for HeRoMaRiNE. It was SCVs, and those don't do too well when there are a lot of Archons on the front line.
Yeah, and you mentioned there was a potential flank onto that tank line, but the tank line didn't really do that much, right? They get a couple of shots onto that army. Imagine instead, you know, I don't want to pretend like I know how to take an engagement better than Big Gabe, but maybe if he kind of kites back a little bit of that much AOE, let the tanks do a little bit more damage, and let the army of PtitDrogo kind of advance, because that's kind of like the weakness of an army like that. It's really chunky and clunky, right? Like the Archons have issues pushing against each other and moving all together. So I would have liked to see something like that, but instead it's going to be Drogo equalizing off of I don't know. I want to say I liked it because Big Gabe seemed to smell blood in the water and be like, okay, I'm going to seize this moment, but at the same time it backfired, so difficult.
Yeah, very interesting situation, because I did feel like there was a lot that was going Big Gabe's way in that game. But yeah, we get ready to move to game number 3 now, Cats, and it's tied up 1-1. Glad we're not getting some kind of 3-0 situation immediately right off the bat. This is going to be a good day. I can feel it, Cats. I think, you know what? I'm actually feeling like maybe Drogo take one more game and bring this to maybe a game 5, because I think I could say that yes, Drogo could potentially 3-1. I think HeRoMaRiNE's strong enough to bring us to at least a game 5.
Oh, def. On the right-hand side of the map, bottom right, it is the blue Protoss player, PtitDrogo.
And up in the top left-hand side of the map, the red Terran player, he is HeRoMaRiNE, who's truly the king of the Marines now, right? I mean, Marine King Prime is gone. He defeated Marine Lord in the last series, or the last series that he played. That kind of definitely crowns him as the king of all Marines.
For the time being, but there's a baby Marine being groomed somewhere.
There's a baby Marine? Who's the baby Marine?
Baby Marine is Raynor's little brother.
Oh, you know, I actually think I have heard this, and yeah, I haven't really seen him play or anything, but that's a fun thought.
Yeah, it's a fun thought. I mean, he's the one other Marine that is still out there that, you know, is kind of like hiding and waiting for his shot at the Marine crown, but he still has, you know, some simmering to do, I am sure.
You know, it's funny to even think, obviously this shouldn't even be that big of a surprise, but can you just imagine, we always talk about how young Raynor is. He has a younger brother. You're like, how young do they get, these StarCraft players?
It's like, can people stop making young people already?
Oh my God, it's just the new generations, they don't keep coming, they don't stop coming in.
Yeah, human beings, man, they continue.
Human beings, they just won't stop having kids.
Oh, seriously.
What's up with that? And they keep picking up StarCraft. It warms my heart. It warms my heart that they're still picking up StarCraft.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of credit goes to Raynor and HeRoMaRiNE's dad, to Massimo. He's an awesome dad because he is just, you know, the coolest dad, because it's like, yeah, play StarCraft. Yeah, no, yeah, dude. He recognizes, because he's a StarCraft player himself, so he recognizes the advantages of playing StarCraft cognitively, and probably has seen his children develop from the game as well on those fronts. So yeah, props to him and the mom as well. She seems pretty awesome. So
yeah,
awesome family, of course.
Absolutely. I got a chance to hang out and talk a little bit with Clem's dad when we were at WCS Kiev last year, and it was really nice. Although I have to say, I kind of embarrassed myself because I didn't realize he was Clem's dad, and we were in the green room, kind of just talking with all the other casters and stuff, and I was reading through the results, and I can't remember, there was a North American player, of course, that beat Clem, and I'm like, oh yes, such and such player beat Clem. And I didn't realize I was sitting right next to Clem's dad, and he's like, oh, okay. So I felt a little bad about that.
It's extra funny, Robbie, because you're actually the nicest person. Like, you're always trying not to take anyone off. So it's like the last thing that you would possibly do is that.
I know. At least I didn't like turn to him and I'm like, ha ha, oh, Clem is lost. Ha ha, your son has been defeated.
Did he like start talking in French right after you said that, and you were like, oh?
No, I don't even think I registered what he did afterwards, because I was talking to Maynard after Clem's dad left. Then Maynard was like, hey, so you know that was Clem's dad, right? And I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, I have so many great stories where I've embarrassed myself, Cats. I could go on. But let's talk about this game.
Let's do it. So there is a Robo making an observer. I imagine this is a pretty good thing for the Raven. to be going up against. Blink is, of course, looking to try and capitalize off of the lack of vision. And if the Observer gets sniped, it can put an end to all of those plans.
Yeah. Ravens, God, I really am happy that this has finally become like more of a staple in PvP. And I know it's been a staple now for a little bit and everything, but I feel like it's just always been like a really cool unit that has not only obviously all the spells and everything, but just the ability to snipe off a lot of these observers to get those little pickoffs there. It's still a unit that feels like it does get sniped off very often in one of those first kind of big trades or fights. So there's opportunities for Protoss players to kind of seize the moment, seize the day. I like that. Auto turret can drop down. That does mean that if Big Gabe decides to go for another one of those similar pushouts as the last game, not going to have the as much interference matrix energy now.
Yeah, at the same time, for an Observer, I think you're pretty happy for the trade. Good job from PtitDrogo forcing it, at least the energy. So like you said, maybe as a result, he drops a very early third, knowing that there is a defensive Raven, right? That's not any offensive unit that's going to come out of the starport, and the Raven really has no aggressive potential. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Drogo here as a result.
Yeah, definitely going to have at least a few minutes over here. Now the Stalker's going to be aggressive with Blink now finished on up. This is also one of those maps where you're not going up a ramp to the natural, so there's an opportunity to kind of poke forward a little bit more. So he's going to be able to find some of these Marines as they're retreating out. I love this micro so far. Drogo takes a little bit of damage on one of the Stalkers, but even pulls that back and is not really distributing the damage across all these Marines. He's getting actual pickoffs here.
Yeah, really, really well done. So basically pokes him with 5 Stalkers, 1 gets low, and then 4 Stalkers are still good enough for the one shot. And after that, you know, when 2 are weak, he just stops poking unless he finds reinforcements. And this is huge, beautiful moves from Drogo.
Oh, and HeRoMaRinE, he's not pulling back. I thought he might pull back with some of his army to go kill the Stalkers, but I think he may have been anticipating a
Raven goes down. It'll go down, Robbie.
Oh, that's a big pickoff right there. Gets auto turret down. That auto turret's gonna do next to nothing. And look at that immediate pull versus the Widow Mine. Drogo is playing out of his mind well this game.
Yes, that Widow Mine goes inside of the gas, so only 1 kill, I think, is what those Widow Mines got, right? Or none?
We didn't even get a workers kill count on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
that's how few workers killed.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 1, right? And
there's only 1. Only 1.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at the resources lost, he's lost 1 probe and 1 observer. He's killed off 6 Marines, a Marauder, a Reaper, 2 Widow Mines, and a Raven.
Yeah, Drogo really turning up this game. Everything has gone his way except maybe that just 1 observer snipe. So things are looking pretty good from him. Look at the vision again with this Stalker. He's ready. He's feeling it.
Stalkers are there. They're going to blink forward. They're going to be able to kill the medevac and immediately go after the Widow Mines. 1 Stalker may die, but he gets both of the Widow Mines and the medevac.
I mean, that's yet another attack thwarted on the side of HeRoMaRinE. He can't be feeling too good himself at the moment. This next medevac is just going to try to make its way out of the base of PtitDrogo and rejoin the army as another couple of medevacs get loaded in.
Yeah, I'm really wondering what is PtitDrogo's follow-up going to be over here, because the Temple Archives just finished up. Now he has the ability to warp in some of those Archons. Does he just make the Archons and with +1 weapons and Thermal Lance closing in on finishing? Is that the time to go attack and actually try and do some damage after you've shut down so many army units? Because remember, he's killing medevacs, he's killing army units, he's not killing workers.
Oh my God!
No!
How good is this game for him? Talk about a snowball effect, Robbie. If you're HeRoMaRinE at this point, you have to be considering leaving. Like, it has to feel so frustrating. Nothing is going his way.
Cats, if I was HeRoMaRinE in this situation, I wouldn't just consider leaving with how this game has gone. I would unplug my power and my router just so that I could tell the admin, hey, I need 5 more minutes to get my internet back online. Like, I need to calm down for a little bit. This is a brutal smashing from Drogo.
It really is. He just has found everything that he needs to find. And he might be looking to capitalize as well. Gets a little bit of a scout on the setup with this Blink Stalker. So I would love to see him push into that high ground from the side, the high ground between the natural and the third base, rather than maybe engaging through the third base, take control of that area. That's what I would like to see. But it looks like Drogo might have different plans, and he might be looking to push into that third base and the choke in spite of the setup of HeRoMaRinE, which I think is to the... Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, he's rotating around, and I like that he actually leaves a couple of zealots over there. That does maybe keep HeRoMaRinE a little bit eyes on the prize that their army might be coming in from that side, but he comes in from the other side. Guardian Shield's protecting a lot of these units. The big aggressive blink forward. He's not even gonna wait for the fight to finish. GG. Drogo takes the lead in the series.
Absolutely a beautiful masterclass of a PvT by Drogo there. Nothing really got past him that game. And I was a little bit worried for that last attack because he seemed to be posturing to go into the setup of Big Gabe, but he did such a good job of scouting it with the Stalkers and then positioning to go in through the other side. We'll take a very short break and then we'll be back with the next 1 or 2 final games of this awesome series. Stick around.
PtitDrogo doing a great job of shrinking Gabe down. Is he tiny Gabe now, cats? That's what the chat seems to be thinking. But HeRoMaRinE is not
tiny Gabe.
He's not the kind of player who will just take this sitting down, man. He is going to rise up to the occasion, rise to even greater heights than before, possibly through growth. We're gonna see Everdream if he can bring the series back.
All right, it's an interesting map. How do you feel about this map in the matchup, Ravi? I'm really not very much experienced in it.
Yeah, you know, I think Everdream is just one of those kind of strange maps in general where it's a pretty small, somewhat claustrophobic map a lot of the time, pretty quick to move across the map. And I feel as though it's one of those maps where if you get caught out of position, I feel so punishing a lot of the time for both the Protoss and the Terran players. So we'll see where things go as we move in, introduce players. Down here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player. He is PtitDrogo.
The top right-hand side of the map, send him your energy. He needs it right now. It is HeRoMaRinE.
You know, though, Cass, I gotta say, I had been one of the people that was predicting HeRoMaRinE with like a 3-2 victory. If PtitDrogo plays like that again, like that last game in this game, I actually think like that's just gonna be brutal. Yes, we were even talking about this during the break with each other. PtitDrogo definitely got lucky a few times, kind of with like how things ended up shaping out, or like, you know, the Stalkers being able to just immediately identify the medevacs are up on the north side and HeRoMaRinE not quite paying attention to them. But I still think that, man, PtitDrogo was playing so well that last game.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's always a little bit of luck involved when you're playing a game where you don't have a vision, because you're making decisions based on probability, right? So you're saying, okay, well, this is likely to happen. How likely? I don't know. I'll take a gamble. I'll have my stuff here. I'll have my stuff there. I'm spotting for this. I'm prioritizing this area with my observer. It just so happened that all of the priorities of Drogo were perfect. That can be like, that is definitely a little bit of luck, a little bit or a lot of preparation, quite potentially, and a lot of skill to ultimately execute and take advantage of. So yeah, it was definitely the universe kind of whispering in Drogo's ear a little bit, like, hey, watch out, there's Widow Mines too. And Drogo did like, Widow Mines, you know, jump here, jump there, snipe that, snipe this, and yeah, I mean, he did amazing.
Okay, well, Drogo's gonna head back with that scouting probe, get a little bit of extra mining, and we'll see if HeRoMaRiNE's gonna be favoring that kind of Hellion opening yet again, since he has been opening up with that a lot lately. The single Adept is still gonna be made here for Drogo that he loves going for the scout with, and I feel like the only thing he hasn't been lucky with is that first Adept and wet at target. So there goes out the SCV build in the command center or the first Marine. That's the only thing he hasn't been lucky with.
Yes, indeed. And let's see if this Adept is going to be any luckier than his forefathers.
Yeah, well, command center is getting closer and closer vision. This is a pretty small map, so you get there a few seconds early. There's no bunker or anything because it's just the Marines. Adept is actually not shading all the way in. He doesn't want to commit in. I think there was maybe an opportunity to do some damage there and then pull further back while you shade out, but I guess Drogo does not want to take that chance.
Yeah, it might have cost him all of the HP on that Adept to kill a Marine. Instead, he'll go into the main, and if he gets an SCV, that'll be okay enough. And I think he's gonna definitely get one. Will not be able to shade out, but has cost enough mayhem, giving him enough scouting information, a little bit of mining time tonight, and might even get a little bit more as he gets a Marine. So nice.
Also really, really just nice to spot out nice and early on, like, what are the add-ons? Okay, the barracks is still just making Marines off of the reactor. There's nothing else being built on the factory. So he sees, oh yeah, factory's not building an immediate tech lab or anything. It's not like there's super fast siege tanks coming out. It's going to be either Hellions or Widow Mines. I'm not sure if there's like an extra little thing you can identify with how much gas is being mined right now to identify it's Widow Mines versus Hellions, but I guess he's already seen the Widow Mines multiple times now with the Stalkers.
Yeah, he has, and in either case, I think that the reaction is good. Just go and blink. We've talked about it. It's pretty standard, but that's exactly what he chooses to do right away, and that's what he's gonna need, and that's what he used to great effect last game. So if he can shut down this first drop, that'll be the start of the momentum rolling for PtitDrogo once again. So it's a very important first drop here, because we've seen the opposite happen, where Big Gabe can definitely snowball himself.
Oh, absolutely. Kind of funny that these Stalkers are moving around into the corners and everything. I mean, remember, PtitDrogo did see that there was nothing proxied or anything along those lines. But he's leaving these Stalkers here to intercept the drop because he knows, like, this is going to be a medevac drop. The only player I know who is ballsy enough to not go through, like, the corners on the top left or the bottom right is Masa. And I'm just going to say that didn't really work out so well for him in the game that he played. But that happened.
Yeah, Drogo with excellent spotting, and you know, we're talking about a little bit of luck, yes, but on the bottom side of the map there's also a stalker. So he doubled down here. He's like, you know, you're gonna do this 100% or, you know, 90-something%. So I'm gonna cover both of my entrances, and he does exactly that, and that guarantees that he's gonna be ready. So amazing job by him.
Okay, the Stalkers are leaving now. I just want to note that the Widow Mine drop did try to move back in for a split second. And then he saw that there were two Stalkers there, so he gave up on it. But now the Stalkers are gone, so there's an opportunity here as Drogo moves across the map.
Yeah, at the same time, Drogo only showed 3 Stalkers at the front, so I'm not sure that Big Gabe knows the full extent of this attack. And I think he's gonna blink in, maybe pick off these tanks. He is! The first tank is Miss Micro, or Miss Micro onto rather. Like, Drogo really needed to snipe that first tank that was already sieged, and then maybe take an opportunity to take the unsieged, but instead shot the unsieged tank first and didn't have enough surface area for all of the Stalkers to try and snipe the other tank fast enough that Drogo couldn't snowball that engagement. Still, he's gonna go in for another aggressive blink though. Yeah,
loses one Stalker, but gets the bunker. That does open up the opportunities here. It makes it a lot easier to push on in. Remember that Warp Prism also provides high ground vision. Here comes that Widow Mine drop. Drogo not paying attention because he's getting ready to blink into the main base.
Oh,
he's gonna
no, in the main
as well. Over here.
Look at the drop in the main too. There's, it's a Liberator in the main. But Drogo has made his way into the main of Big Gabe himself, and now the tanks are having to re-siege. A lot of these Stalkers are going to be able to trade well with these Marines without medevacs and without upgrades, really. So a weird game here, Ravi, but Drogo just lost 13 workers.
Yeah, he killed off the third base, which is a good start, but he's got to do more. He's trading versus more of those Marines, like you were saying, and I love this. He is just slowing HeRoMaRinE down also, because HeRoMaRinE does not want to just unsiege both of his tanks and move them forward and siege them up in range with the Stalkers. You have to be careful about this, because they can blink onto you, and now they're killing off a few of these SCVs. Remember, recall should be available. He's got to maybe do some pickup micro with the Warp Prism as well. Gonna get the one tank, maybe two tanks.
Love going after the tanks there. Yeah, recall is available. There's too much damage output, so I think he would have lost most of his army. Instead, he saves the recall and blinks away and gets away with the Warp Prism. I mean, that was a great equalizer for Drogo. He really needed that.
I think he did a lot of damage there. I am a little bit concerned because remember, he did lose a lot of his Stalkers. I guess he still has 15 alive, so maybe it's not going to be the end of the world. As long as he's still able to stay active with these Stalkers after siphon off those tanks, and he's going to go for another tank. I actually feel like, yeah, this could be a really good spot for Drogo. He's going to go for the right click on the bunker. It's not going to go down, though. The SCV repair is a little too strong.
Yeah, yet still resetting the tank count over and over again as he's making Colossi behind this. I mean, it's not like Big Gabe has much of anything else going for him. There's one Marauder in production, but really against this Colossi, he could struggle with his high number of Marines.
Oh, man, I think that Big Gabe, did he F2 his Banshee? It went up to the top left. There's no real purpose that Banshee's going to serve over on this side of the map where he's going to be defending, right? That Banshee is just a target for these Blink Stalkers. I feel like, yeah, going across the map would be the best option here, and he's going to finally send it back.
Most definitely. He definitely probably F2'd. Also, a medevac was returning from harassing and got picked off by those Stalkers. And that's part of what's all contributing to this, from Drogo being a little bit off a comeback in spite of a very strong start harassment-wise from Big Gabe. So it's, yeah, it's anyone's game, I think.
Yeah, Banshee is about to make its way over to the third, which is still building right now for PtitDrogo. But man, PtitDrogo killed off another one of those tanks. This tank count has maybe gone past 3 tanks for like a quarter of a second once this entire game, if even that. It has been so tough for him to actually keep that siege tank count up. Banshee does come in, and there's only a sentry over here. That's actually not the unit that's going to be able to kill the Banshee.
Yeah, no shield battery on that mineral line, and that's part of maybe why Big Gabe decided to go for this follow-up on the Banshee. So well done by him capitalizing on that, and the recall is forced on the side of Drogo. This game will kind of stabilize now.
Yeah, and I like what you were mentioning before, that there are those Colossus that have been coming out. We have our third Colossus going to be finishing up well in time for any kind of potential move out HeRoMaRinE could go for. And would HeRoMaRinE even really want to go for a big move out right now? I mean, he's lost so many of his siege tanks. He's lost a lot of his bio too. Remember, he wasn't just losing workers or like his third command center. He lost his army supply as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Big Gabe is aware of the Colossi. Has he seen them? He hasn't seen the tech, but I'm not sure if he's seen the actual units. But yeah, you definitely don't want to move out. A lot of these Marines, or a few of these Marines, will get picked off as they look to scout. So scout they will, and that will definitely reveal the Colossi. So we'll see what Big Gabe chooses to do here.
Yeah. And PtitDrogo actually sending the Stalkers around to snipe off Marines. He almost snipes off some Marines in the center, but they're going to become friends for a little bit before, I guess, the Stalker finally engages versus the Marines and shuts down a bit of that map vision. That's going to be a big part of what PtitDrogo wants to do right now, is shut down map vision so that he can eventually get that safe move out. But HeRoMaRinE is going to try and get another one of those drops around the bottom right-hand side of the map, and there's going to be a little skirmish in the center. This is definitely going to favor Drogo since the tanks are on siege and get sniped off again. My God, the tank sniper Drogo is this series.
Yeah, really, really well done with those. Now, HeRoMaRinE does have 3 Marauders in production at a time, so his Marauder count is getting there. It's a lot more complexity, a lot of a stronger army against the likes of Colossi. Concussive Shells was just completed as well. So Drogo has to be a little bit more careful with those blink forwards, as they can now be punished more easily.
Yeah, did the medevac just return home or something? I actually don't see it on the map anymore.
We saw one of these attacks be so effective on defense for PtitDrogo just in one of these games. Now on offense, it's looking pretty powerful. 5 Archons is very difficult to deal with, and here comes the attack move. Let's not let's not mix the words. There's a beautiful blink though.
Yeah. Oh, blinks forward. The Archons are taking a lot of damage, though. Kaz, this is such a ridiculous concave for HeRoMaRinE. The Colossus are doing a lot, but now the Archons are gone. The Colossus are going to be the next targets, and there's the stutter step forward. HeRoMaRinE ties up the series. We're going to a game 5.
Yeah, GG indeed. A decent blink in to start that fight from Drogo. There was like a Marine or something that turned the Colossus heads around for a second there. I don't know if you noticed. The Colossus, like, and you really don't want to waste a shot of those Colossus. Like, how many shots did those Colossus really get all together, right? So, like, one shot of those Colossus is like 10% or something of the damage output that they're going to do. So if you waste one shot on one Marine or something like that, it's awful. And I think that was the problem for Drogo, is those Colossi really weren't shooting the targets that they wanted to. All the Marines were kind of in the back, and the Colossi were shooting first at the Marine behind, and then at Marauders that were kind of sprinkled in the front. So, well done by HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, really well done there by HeRoMaRinE. I was actually surprised that PtitDrogo felt like he had to commit to attack in over there. I can understand, you know, you have like this big Colossus Archon army. Maybe he felt like as the game goes later and later on, it's so many Archons that if ghosts start getting added in, that army is not going to fare as well. I'm not exactly sure what was going through PtitDrogo's mind, but man, the combination of what you were just talking about, Cass, but just the kind of choke point there. It's weird to call it a choke point because, you know, it's like 5 force fieldable area. It's a pretty big area, but when you have an army that big and you're going into a massive concave of bio and siege tanks, I don't see how that was almost ever really going to work out super well. So I feel like Drogo maybe felt like there was some time pressure that kind of forced him into that.
I'm not sure. Again, Ravi, I think if you make that engagement, make them take that engagement again, almost every time it'll go better for Drogo than it did that game. I'm not sure if it's enough to win the engagement or the game, but that engagement was just so brutal because there were so many little things going wrong for him. It's like the Colossi were almost a non-factor. And when you invest that much into Colossi and they do barely anything, like if there was a fight breakdown of how much damage output the units did, the Colossi performed really underwhelmingly in that fight.
Wouldn't that be great if we had like a post-match or post-battle little stat screen that just showed like who are the biggest damage dealers?
Oh yeah, it would be the best.
Ryan and Shatter, you listening? We're going to be starting up here in the top right-hand side of the map, atop of the red Terran player. He is HeRoMaRinE.
And the bottom left-hand side, it is the memester himself, PtitDrogo. Did he not like the anime? Did he comment on the anime music?
Who?
Drogo. I think they played some anime for him yesterday.
The J-pop or something that was played?
Was it J-pop? I'm not sure what
I think it was. I don't know if it was J-pop. It definitely caught me too off guard to even recognize what exactly it was. Yeah. But I remember the joke that had been made was J-pop.
J-pop. I saw a lot of ayayas in chat.
Ayaya. Yeah.
Ayaya.
Oh, the anime life, man. The anime life.
Anime life. All right, it's an even series. And it's an exciting one. Who are you favoring at this point? I know you said HeRoMaRinE at the start, Ravi, but are we feeling more Drogo now than before, at least?
I definitely feel more Drogo than I did feel before. I think the thing for me is that Drogo lost that last game with, you were talking about all the different things that didn't go super well in that last fight. But I feel like the rest of his game went overall pretty well. The stalker harass and everything, like there was a few moments there that didn't work out very well. Like the first time he blunked forward, he lost a lot of DPS going for the wrong tank and kind of splitting up his damage and then not actually killing his siege up tank immediately. So there's a few things that didn't go well, but overall, I feel like Drogo's playing an extremely top-notch level of StarCraft right now. I actually still think that Drogo has what it takes to win this game if you can just keep playing that level of StarCraft.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that, because the first game, it really looked like he got outclassed by Gabe, but in the last game, he was actually punching back and coming back from a position potentially, and where he was recovering, maybe looking like he was the better player, right? And that's kind of what he showed in the 2 games before that as well. So yeah, he's really bringing his A game here, and it's showing. I mean, these two are amazing, 2 titans of the European scene.
Yeah, I think the one concern I do have for Drogo is that the way that he got outclassed in that first game, it's a situation that hasn't been repeated yet, but could absolutely happen again. It's just the hyper late game of PvP. It's brutal, it felt like, for Drogo.
Yeah, really nice micro there from Big Gabe. Both SCVs at a very, well, at like 1 HP essentially, right? Or at least one shot from dying. So, yeah, well done. The Adept will make it out.
The SCVs can repair each other back up if they really feel like the Adept will go back in, but pretty unlikely now that there's going to be a decent number of Marines and even a Hellion going to be popping on out. Now, it's always funny to me to see whether or not that Hellion gets spotted by the Adept, because sometimes you see that little chance encounter, and they actually do, both of them do extra damage to each other.
Yeah, of course, the Hellion is a little bit flimsier of a unit, so the Adept would still comfortably win that fight unless there are in enough numbers that the Hellion's AoE comes into play. But yeah, it looks like the Hellions will just be pushed back as Drogo has that pull-off that you were talking about in a previous game, Ravi. Just very safe against this type of Hellion run by.
Yeah, the big add-in over here to try and bypass the wall is going to be that medevac that's going to be popping out around the same time as the third Hellions. But we've usually been seeing whenever HeRoMaRinE is going for this opening, it's actually the Marines that go into the medevac, not the Hellions. So is he going to do the same thing this game? No, the Marines are all staying at home. It's just the medevac and the Hellions making their way across the map.
Yeah, a little bit surprising. Perhaps Big Gabe doesn't have enough information to anticipate that there couldn't or that there shouldn't be something like an Oracle out or something strange, though really PtitDrogo hasn't managed to mix it in. It's very easy to be overly cautious in the last game of a series that has so much at stake.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Even if it's not that, even if it's just he's playing a little bit like that's a bit of a mix-up, I don't actually hate too much. But medevac's getting focus fire down instead of the Hellions, so that does mean the Hellions can kill a few workers here and there. 6 workers, definitely not too shabby for the 3 Hellions.
Yeah, 3 Hellions and a medevac though, so yeah, some lost mining time there. But I like that Drogo focus fire the medevac. Yes, that gives it the opportunity to the Hellions, but he kept actively moving the probes away so that he wouldn't ever give the Hellions a very good line of fire where they can just kill multiple probes. So really good crisis management overall for PtitDrogo. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think the snipe off on the medevac is what seals the deal and kind of actually brings that to be a pretty good trade there for Drogo. With the Robo Bay coming up behind us, we do finally have a little bit of a difference in how Drogo's approaching the upgrades. He's going for the double forge immediately. Almost all the other games, he's been going single forge, gets up +1 weapons, then starts up the second forge. So I wonder if we're going to see a slightly different game plan here from him.
Yeah, Monka is a little bit trading a lot of HP on those stalkers just to bruise a bunker that he was very unlikely to kill. So a little bit of an underestimation there from Drogo, maybe just a little bit trigger happy, wanting to make use of his APM. So he needs to take a little bit of a chill pill right now.
Yeah, I think, and he's going to be able to just sort of hang back, chill out, like you were saying. And I like actually that we got both the Xel'Naga Watchtowers grabbed by each individual stalker. So he's getting ready to just anticipate any kind of move outs over there from any of the units. If there's going to be another medevac that popped out, it'll be making its way over. And will Drogo catch wind of one of those little move outs with some of the Marines? Might actually even just try and go snipe them off. He's been doing a great job of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, both players really amazing at scouting. We always see this little move outs of single units. We saw it at the start only from Zerg because, you know, Zerglings are so disposable and so very fast. But this is kind of the evolution of StarCraft, where players are just gathering information and need to know when their opponents are moving out from the very start and from wherever they may be, because that's what allows you to get away with, you know, as much greed as you can get away with, for example.
Yeah, not an F2 friendly thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
So really goes to show you the extra level of control that they've been setting on up. Stalker's going to be warped in to just kill off this single Marine here, and that Marine's going to see Robo's been very, very active, but that's no big surprise. And just based on the way the Drogo's been playing, it's likely to just be that similar sort of setup again. Colossus with Thermal Lance, getting up the Archons again. So that is going to be the case, but again, faster armor upgrade being added on here.
Yeah, and as soon as that Marine dies, another one replaces him in the middle of the map as well. So that Marine kind of says, okay, there's definitely nothing coming in through the middle of the map. It's one less thing to worry about if you are HeRoMaRinE positionally, if you're HeRoMaRinE looking to move out. right? Like right now, for example, his army can move freely up until they meet that Marine, because they know that there's nothing that's gonna spot him up until that point. Now the Marine running into the third base is gonna confirm where the army of Drogo is, and I'm not sure if that's gonna signal anything to Big Gabe, who looks to, yeah, he's gonna load into medevacs and go for an attack.
Yeah, seemed like for a second he was thinking about actually moving down through the bottom side of the map as well with the rest of his army. He's actually going to go down that ramp. Now he is evading that Xel'Naga watchtower very, very well, but Zealot does scout out this army. A nice job from Drogo. I think they're both doing a great job of keeping an eye on the map. I feel like each one of these little units are basically little jabs. You're kind of testing and seeing, okay, yeah, you know, it seems like you were getting ready for a big, you know, wallop over there, but since I see that, since you know that I've noticed it, you're just not going to go for it anymore. But his double medevac drop has gone unnoticed. Drogo's so ready for it now, though.
Yeah, there's an observer that saw the medevacs actually dropping, so that was really well positioning, really good positioning by Drogo. And also the one Zealot on the other side pulled the army of HeRoMaRinE too. I think that's not because HeRoMaRinE thinks, okay, like you might have an army there, even though he doesn't have spotting at the north, and we were talking about really how important spotting is. So it's definitely a possibility that the army of Drogo is there behind that Zealot. So he pulls back, but also the fact that he unsieged the tank to try and save it from his other tank's friendly fire makes it so that he's doing things that he doesn't want to worry about the army, and the safest thing to do is pull back while you don't want to worry about it, right?
Yeah. A couple of Zealots making their way along the north side. We just caught a shot of getting ready to maybe move into that third base, and this is actually great positioning and great timing, because you see that HeRoMaRinE was starting to move out a little bit with his army. He ends up pulling back, but Drogo's not going to send in those Zealots just quite yet. Just, again, small little clumps of units. I'm just so in love with watching this cast. I absolutely love this. Is really putting the strategy into this like a real-time strategy where you're trying to play a game of information.
Yeah, it really feels that way. It's been a beautiful match between these two. It's been tit for tat, and now the fourth base is being established by HeRoMaRinE, not without Drogo's knowledge. It seems like nothing will escape these two, and Drogo will situate his fifth at a similar timing.
Yeah, Stalker blinks back a little bit late. The rest of the army shows up, but oh my god, okay, Drogo's going to take advantage of the fact that he saw a bunch of that army making its way over. The tank is going to get sniped off. Zealots all getting into that mineral line. This is going to get a little bit awkward right now for HeRoMaRinE. Storm is 10 seconds away from finishing too.
Oh my god, without the Storm and with that cannon, it's going to be far more difficult to dislodge this position now from HeRoMaRinE. Drogo had a strong opening there. He recognized that, he went for it, but now he's got to be really careful going into that choke.
Yeah, some Storms coming off on top of a few units over here, but I just feel like there's such an overwhelming number of units over here for Drogo, and he's going to get some magnificent Storms down. The Vikings will be able to clean up those Colossus pretty quickly. A couple of SCVs are going down. It seems like Drogo is getting pushed back now, and he doesn't really have any Storms available anymore.
Yeah, and Drogo being a little bit indecisive, right? Because the Vikings are picking up those Colossi, like you say, and he's kind of backing away, and I'm not sure if he's waiting for a next warping of units, but it's getting harder and harder to push through because those Colossi are no longer soaking shots, and the Vikings are now actually helping on the ground. Big Gabe will decisively push Drogo back.
Wow, I mean, a really, really nice back and forth there from HeRoMaRinE. Is like you said, he just kept getting these extra little pickoffs. All of those warpins of Zealots, all of those Archons were gradually getting picked up on top of the Colossus that you were talking about. And even though Drogo was using a few Storms here and there, they weren't really killing anything. They were softening up a few units, but not actually doing decisive damage. A few more High Templar coming forward. I don't even think they have energy for the Storm. They turn into an Archon. And this is potentially going to be the game-deciding fight right here.
Yeah, it's looking like if Big Gabe is able to clear this Colossi, that's all that stands between him and Big